So I just witnessed a birth. I don't really know what to say right now. Slightly in shock. So my flatmate slash best friend Maddie, who I've lived with for the last year and a bit, has just given birth to a beautiful baby boy. Here's Ruben.
Let's swaddle you. Gross, isn't it?
It really makes you think about life and just how amazing it is and how special it is. It's something that you don't really think about until you see something like that. Because I'm speechless. I'm honestly speechless right now. I can't put into words that feeling when it happened, and just that new life being brought into the world. And it's made me think quite a bit, actually. It's made me think quite a lot about my life and how fleeting it can be. I'm currently walking towards where I grew up, because the RUH where we are currently is right next to where I was brought up for the first 10 or so years of my life. A lot of stuff happened here. This is where my mum was taken when she was diagnosed with cancer, and where I spent a lot of my life, and I just left and never came back. And I think that it's important to visit these places to reflect, and I think right now I need to reflect. I don't know if you guys can see it, but right on top of that hill there's what looks like a lighthouse. And as a kid, that always blew my mind. I was always wondering why there was a lighthouse up there. And it's actually just a very tall church spire. But as a kid, you create these fascinating and weird things in your mind. Some of my happiest and some of my saddest moments have taken place in this small village in Bath, and that is hard on the soul, I suppose. It's something that stays with you. And I think experiences in all forms of life culminate. They culminate into this thing that can be detrimental to your well-being and mental health. And I'm hoping by going here, it alleviates some of that. Because I think that this is kind of this closed-off place in my mind that I don't want to go back to. But I think I have to. As I always say, you get one shot at life. And there's no point in living a life that you aren't happy with. And I feel like today, after seeing what I've seen, it showed me that life is fleeting. It's magic and bizarre and weird, and that's so amazing, but you need to stop. And it's hard to put into words. It's so hard to put into words, but I hope I'm getting my message across. Just, it's okay to reflect, is what I'm trying to say. It may just look like a road to anyone else, but this was the road I grew up on. This is so odd. This is so bloody weird. Down there used to be a set of garages that my dad owned, and he used to build his bike and his caravan and his camper down here. And from what I've seen recently, they've actually completely torn those down, and it's now just houses. And it's quite sad, really, because now all the memories that were there have been torn down, and unfortunately that's how time works. It moves on. It's hard to think that I haven't walked up this high street in 20 odd years. Not even that. Oh, this is odd. So unfortunately, the next part I didn't film, but for good reason. I knocked on the door of my old neighbour. Now, this lovely lady, Anne, lived next door to us the entire time that I lived there. Now, personally, I had great memories of Anne. She was absolutely fantastic, and I remember going around her house on Sundays and I'd watch James Bond on her TV. I remember that quite vividly, and I was probably only around 7, maybe 6 years old. But I knocked on the door and a woman answered, and I said, "Sorry to bother you, but does Anne still live here?" And she said, "Come on in." and I spent the next hour talking to them about my life and what's happened, and asking what happened to the village, and just reminiscing about good times. And this is my reaction to that. So I just spent the last hour in my old neighbour's house reminiscing. I knocked on the door and they actually knew who I was after, what is it, 20 years? Sorry, I'm in shock. I didn't film in there because I obviously thought it was a bit weird if I just started filming our reminiscence. It's crazy. I don't know. So they were amazing. I've got their numbers and I can call them, and they remembered who I was, and it's a massive weight off my shoulder. It feels amazing, and I'm so glad I bloody did it. And on top of that, a tiny caterpillar has just landed on my glasses. Look at that little guy. He's like, oh, hello, I'm a little tiny caterpillar. I shall name you Benson. One thing that's become incredibly prevalent to me, and something that I've learned over the last couple of years, is to document your memories. Because you don't know how long you may have with that person. I was mocked for making videos with my dad when I used to do vlogs with him by certain family members, and I was belittled. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have any memories of him. So I feel like it's important to document these things, because one day down the line I can look back and have these amazing memories. Seeing Ruben be born triggered something in me to the point where I had to do something. I had to. I couldn't just see new life brought into the world and not reflect on my own life, which has become very isolated, I suppose. Obviously, I do videos on here with you guys, and you have all been absolutely fantastic, but you only see a very small margin of my life. I think that reflecting on one's own psyche is very important. Also, closure is very important. A couple of years ago, I went to my primary school, the school that I first went to, with my dad, and it was knocked down. It didn't exist anymore. And I caught that reaction on camera. Oh my god, the school's gone! So, this on screen right now is going to be some footage of me running down here, okay? Now, up there used to be the school building. It's hard to explain kind of how like personal this place was, because I can't put it into words. It's something of my past that is now unfortunately gone. And as I said in this video, buildings are knocked down. That's how time moves. Time moves on, and the physical aspects of our memories go away. But we still have them in our brain. And I know that sounds pretty obvious, but I need to remember that sometimes. I didn't want to bum anyone out with this video. I think it's important to share this with you, because I'm hoping that maybe this gives one of you the inspiration to say, hey, let's travel back to my hometown and maybe go and talk to my neighbour, or maybe go back to the house where you were brought up, because some people are completely fine with you just knocking on the door and saying, hey, could I look around my old house? And it never hurts to ask. I'm so glad that I knocked on Anne's door, because not only was that a gigantic weight off my shoulders, but I think it helped me in a positive way. Congratulations to Maddie and Liam, the mother and father of Ruben. You have been nothing but the biggest of support and my closest real life friends, and I cannot thank you enough for being there for me in my hardest times. And maybe, just maybe, I'll completely embarrass Ruben with his baby video just 5 years down the line. If YouTube still exists, I'll just show him this. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, but until next time, that's me out. Bye guys.